Hello, everyone, and welcome to International Mentoring Center, where we continue to pursue our mission to empower mentors, mentees worldwide by fostering a community of learning, growth, and professional development. Here at IMC, we believe that mentorship is one of the most important tools for personal and professional transformation. And through this platform, industry experts and leaders can share insights, knowledge, and best practices to elevate global awareness on mentoring standards. My name is Ira, and I will be your host. So just a few housekeeping rules and reminders. Make sure that your mics are muted, although you are welcome to have your videos on if you'd like. And after the interview or the presentation, we'll have a Q&A session with our speaker. So please feel free to share questions, thoughts, or reactions in the chat throughout our conversation, and we'd love to hear from you. Our aim is to create a vibrant community of learning and growth. So please know that this is a safe and welcoming space to learn and share ideas. Your participation makes this experience even better, and we can't wait to hear from you. So today our speaker is an experienced business mentor, professional trader, and entrepreneur with a background in building successful restaurants and a growing seven-figure property portfolio. He now focuses on helping others achieve their business and financial goals. As a mentor, he's dedicated to sharing his knowledge and insights to empower you on your own journey. Get ready to learn valuable tips and strategies to accelerate your success. Let us all welcome Yin Fei.
Hi, everyone. Great to have you all here. And so like Ira says, I'm just going to kick off with some slides, and I'll go through them, give you an introduction about my experiences and my mentorship experience and areas I can help you guys with. And at the end, for the last 10, 15, 20 minutes, I welcome any questions you have. I think that's quite good to interact with people. And if you have any personal questions, whatever the question, it's no silly question, so I'm more than happy to help. So shall I just kick off?
Yeah, sounds good. I'll be sharing the presentation shortly.
Perfect. Okay. Brilliant. So yeah, my name is Yin. Also known as Magic Yin, because I'm a magician, but that'll come a little later in the slide. So I'm a mentor, investor, and entrepreneur. And I believe in life, you should follow your passion, find something you're passionate in, and build a business around it and use leverage. Okay, next slide, please. Ira. Thank you. So my entrepreneurial journey started in the hospitality business, in the restaurants. So back in 2006, my mother and we started a restaurant in Edinburgh, which is in Scotland. That's where I live. I still live there today, in the UK. So we started a restaurant together, and I was only in my early 20s. I was 21 years old when we started a restaurant. And like any business, before you do any marketing, any sales, or before there's any loyalty, before you get your, business out there, usually it takes quite a lot of time to build, especially if it's a new business, small business, not started by a chain with a lot of money. We didn't really have much money when we started that first business. It was a very simple, small restaurant. So the first year, we lost money. It was a trading loss. But that's expected, right? You don't need to be deterred if your business actually loses money for a couple of years. It's quite normal if it's a new business, especially if you have a limited capital. Second year, we actually broke even or a little bit of profit. And I think a lot of that is due to really good food and word of mouth. If you have a really good product, a really good service, and you do your marketing right and your sales over time, something should work out. Third year, I guess there's some luck in play as well in life, and when the opportunity is there, you've got to sort of see it and you've got to seize it and you've got to take it. So in the third year of the business, which was 2009, Gordon Ramsay then ran a competition called the F Word show. Right, this isn't the Kitchen Nightmare. This is quite different. F Word is basically where you go for a cook-off and then we see who's the best basically in the country. That's what you're playing for, rather than Kitchen Nightmare, which is a different show. So my mother and I actually went. So we got through to the final, and we went to London and cooked off in one of the commercial kitchens. And as a result, we were voted the best Chinese restaurant in Scotland that year and runner-up in the UK, so number 2 in the UK. Now, after that, from 2000 and right after that, pretty much for about 4 to 5 years, business just really boomed because this was televised. A lot of people saw this, and the word of mouth really got out. So, as a result, we won many other awards such as AA Rosette's International Restaurant of the Year, and for several years. And the business was actually consistently turning over seven figures every year for about 6, 7 years. And we grew the business to 3 restaurants at one point, one takeaway, as well as a food factory, which was like a central unit that was supplying all these restaurants. And we employed around 60 or so staff at the peak. Okay, that's that slide. Thank you. So, the restaurant business was a success. I mean, what I wouldn't say is like massive, huge, like that level, but as a small business, it was a successful business, especially locally. And I actually really enjoyed it, especially initially. You learn a lot by actually running a business rather than learning about business, let's say, from uni or from school. I mean, that theory can, I suppose it can back up some things, but I think you grow as a person in business by doing business. And, I learned a lot, various aspects, because it was just my mother and I. Well, we did recruit managers, marketing people, accounts people, and etc. So we did recruit them. But, as a result, you benefit a lot from learning about marketing, about sales, about customer service, customer retention, people, HR, and so on, finance, etc. You learn various aspects of business by running a small business. So after a few years of this, after the Gordon Ramsay 2009, ran that until, well, was really busy until 2000, probably 15 and 16. And, at that point, I was actually still quite young because I was like sort of late 20s, early 30. Then I, didn't want to just stick with one thing. And also back then, the mindset was a little bit different. I had a self-employed mindset, which means lack of trust, running everything by yourself instead of having a system, instead of using leverage. So as a result of that, I was working 70 to 80 hours a week, sometimes 90 hours a week. I've probably even done 100 hours a week for several months. And it just got to the point that stress was just a bit too much. And, I kind of had enough of it. So in 2017, I, that was the year that I really took action and thought, what else out there can I try? What is an intelligent business? So I looked at property investing, I looked at financial trading, e-commerce, drop shipping, and all these kind of areas. So that's when I started, I had a mentor, I had more than one mentor over the years in property investing and as well as trading. Um, and I've tried various side hustles, sports betting, e-commerce, and so on. But I conclude that once you find what you're passionate about, whether it's a business, whether it's a hobby, whether you're a singer or whatever it is, or is investing, real estate, whatever it is, try to stick with one or two professions and go all in rather than sort of various places, because I find that way, you achieve things a bit slower. So just focus on sort of one or two things. Okay, that's that slide.
Yep.
Ira, thank you. Thanks, Ira. Yeah, so I thought I'd share with you guys a few mindset related knowledge. I actually sincerely believe mindset is the number one thing you got to get right. Whatever arena you want to succeed in, whatever it is, martial arts or music, singing, business, trading, investing, whatever it is, I think the mindset's got to be right. You've really got to believe in yourself. Doesn't matter what other people or others are saying, or there will be sort of obstacles along the way. People may not support you, whatever it is. You've got to believe in yourself and you've got to learn from the right sources. So I think some of the, in business related, or if it comes to business and investing, I think some of these people or their material are very useful to get into the mind. Robert Kiyosaki, a lot of you out there probably know some of these people if you're business savvy. Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, books like that, Cash Flow Quadrant. These are all pretty good books, and gives you a lot of knowledge about investing and how to think as a business person. Vishen Lakhiani, I really like and respect his material. So there's a group called Mind Valley, which you can be, there's a free membership and then there's a paid membership. You can just go for the free membership and this probably is pretty good anyway. Mind Valley is all about sharing with you, how to optimize your health, your wealth, investing, business, and all that. And it's got a community of entrepreneurs. They're supporting each other, which is quite a good thing. There's an app, you can just download it. Mind Valley by Vision Lakiani. Tony Robbins, I think a lot of you probably would know Tony Robbins. He's one of the top sort of motivational speakers out there. Um, and he's got a lot of good books, Life Mastery and about investing, about motivation and things like that, which is pretty good as well. Gary V, he's actually one of my favorite. He swears a lot, every sentence has got an F word in it, but he's quite genuine and and he's not like the others in the sense that he doesn't really, a lot of the others, it feels like when you go and attend something with them, it feels like their goal is to sell you some course or their goal is to sell you to buy something. Whereas Gary Vee just does a lot of things for free and is actually really useful, valuable things as well. He does charge, of course, as well for his time if you went sort of private and things, but or had a group of things or more deeper. But a lot of his material is free and he doesn't try and sell you, which I like. Jim Rohn, again, one of these guys, motivational speakers. He's quite an older, this is like one of the older gurus, if you like, or older motivational speakers, for the older generation, whereas the other guys are a bit more modern. Some other resources, Audible, Amazon, you can, Amazon, Audible, they're the same really, Audible. So you can download ebooks, you can buy credits sort of on a monthly basis and you can get lots of books like that and you can just listen to it, especially if you're going to work, driving, you can utilize that time wisely, I think, by listening to not fiction, personally, I prefer like non-fiction, proper real world material on motivation, on self-development, on business, on investing. I think by learning those things, you can actually utilize in the real world and become successful in business. And I also mentioned there Headway. So Headway is an app whereby, if you don't have a lot of time to read or listen to books, Headway basically gives you a synopsis and a short sort of summary of all the points of a certain book. So whatever book it is, whether it's Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, it just gives you the sort of synopsis of it. And that's probably all you need anyway, all the key points. So I quite like Headway. You can listen to it or you can read it. And Headway often gives you discounts, so there's no point in sort of paying for the normal price. I think for a whole year is only like 20, 30 pounds if you get the right discount. And I sincerely believe the right mentor in life is key, or the right learning, and you got to find the right people to learn from. So whatever your arena is, your passions may be different to mine. Whatever that is, you've got to find someone who's already. So if you want to achieve Z and you're at A or B, you find somebody who's already at Z of what you want, where you want to get to, and you listen to them and you follow their path while using some of your own, utilizing some of your characteristics, exert some of your own characteristics, and you should be successful. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You just follow somebody who's already successful and put in your own oomph into it. And environment is vital, I think. I mean, I really believe it a lot. The top 5 people that you surround yourself with, you will become the 6th. So if you surround yourself with 5 geniuses, you'll be the 6th. If you surround yourself with 5 business people or multimillionaires, you'll be the 6th. Guess what happens if you surround yourself with 5 lazy idiots? So, so I would, that environment is so important. I mean, just think of it, think of a plant. If a seed is planted in different environments, let's say one is in, they got enough sun, very good temperature, enough water, and so on, whereas another one's in the desert, you're going to get this different results. And I'm not talking about a cacti here, I'm just talking normal plant. You're going to get different results. And also, like just as another example, another analogy, let's say water as an example. Water in a supermarket might cost 50p a bottle, but in a shop will be £1. In a restaurant will be £3 or £4. In the cinema, maybe £5 or £6. Again, is your environment. Put yourself in the right environment, surround yourself with the right people. I think that helps a lot in whatever you want to achieve. Thank you. So, Yes, so business system. I think ultimately, if you want to live a freer life and you want to leverage other people's time and money as well, if you want to free up your time and actually do what you love, you've got to adopt the right system, business systems, instead of having a self-employed mindset, which I did personally, for several years, I was working 70, 80, 90 hours a week, like I said, and that's because I adopted a self-employed mindset. And I think a lot of small businesses, I have friends who own small businesses, whether as a shop or a convenience store or a takeaway, quite frankly, they're all small, self-employed minded people. They're hardworking, they care about business. There's no doubt about that. And a lot of them have passion in it. But I find a lot of us build prisons for ourselves that we cannot escape from. Whereas if you start to trust people more and build a system to rely on the system, then you can actually free up your time. I mean, the very good example will be McDonald's or businesses like that. When Ray Kroc started that business, it's actually a real estate business, first of all. McDonald's, it isn't actually a burger business. But if you run it right and if you rely on a system, then you can, the money, it becomes passive. There's so much leverage that you can utilize. And I think that's important in business. If you want to, especially if you want to grow a business, and also just free up your time and live a happier life rather than sort of stuck in the same thing, doing the same thing. And you can definitely achieve that over the period of some time if you set, or if you initiate that system correctly to begin with. Um, Also, intelligent investing, right? Leverage. Again, you can leverage through intelligent investing. So through investing wisely and correctly into the right assets, whether it be properties or businesses or the stock market, cryptocurrencies, whatever it might be, you can, if you do this right, you can leverage a lot of time, because something like property, as an example, it's apart from the refurb and the revamp job at the beginning, most of the after that is mostly passive, because the rental income kind of just comes in and the property value just goes up in time, and that's all done through nature. You don't really have to work to receive that, and I think that's a good way to use leverage to free up one's time. Um, so build vehicles that enable freedom. Whether business is the same thing. If you build a business with the right system, the right ecosystem, the right way to run it, and really all you need is a really good manager who you can trust. You reward him with the right amount, and he can take care of the business for you. With just sort of some kind of input from you. I mean, even with the restaurant business today, so I still own one restaurant today, co-own it anyway. I have a business partner, so just the one. But that restaurant, I'm maybe there once every 3 weeks or something. And because if you recruit the right person to run it, the right chef and the right manager, you don't really have to take care of the business, especially if they're probably better than you anyway. I mean, the manager I have and the chef I have is better than me at cooking and better than me at running the restaurant. So why would I want to go and step in and damage things? Just let them run it, reward them the right amount, and I take care of the business side of things. So, just thinking leverage basically. And you can do that through investing in the financial assets as well, such as cryptocurrencies and so on. But timing is key, and there's high risk in these kind of markets. So you do need to know what you're doing. You do need a lot of knowledge and experience. I mean, I blew many accounts trading Forex the first 2 years I did it. So it's not easy. Nothing is easy, but if you spend time on something and you believe in it, and it's proven to work over time, if you do it consistently, take action, I cannot see why it shouldn't work. But timing is key in financial asset investing. It isn't like properties whereby your risk is almost zero if you know what you're doing. Financial markets is quite a lot more risky, but timing is key. And the key, well, I'll come to the strategy of it later. Anyway, so that's that slide. Thank you, Ira. So strategies. So business, when you run a business, obviously you've got to have the right product or service. That's the key thing. If you don't have an ideal product or service that people desire, if the product is bad or if your service is bad, it's really never really going to work. It's got to be good, or ideally very, very good. And after that, it's really backed up by the correct marketing and sales. That could be through social media, Facebook, Instagram, nowadays TikTok for young people, which is good, Instagram, LinkedIn, various sort of social media platforms. You can do Facebook ads, you can do ads on a lot of these platforms. But if you're starting a new business, I'll probably recommend trying to keep your budget low. I think a mistake people make when they start a business is thinking that they need a lot of money. I think money does help, of course, but when you're starting a business, especially if you're testing something new, I would actually say keep your overheads as low as possible. Work on your own. Don't recruit anyone to begin with, or recruit somebody that makes sense, that works on commission only. And even, let's say, a drop shipping model, if you're doing a drop shipping model, instead of spending so much money tying up on stock, not knowing you're going to sell that stock or not, you're better off just trying to make the sales first. Once the money comes in, then get the stock in and just apologize to people for sorry, it's a bit late, but I can give you a freebie for it or something. You want to keep your risk low when you're starting with limited capital, and keep your overheads low. And even the marketing, there's no point in, say, spending, hundreds of pounds every month or on it. Just start with very little and test this idea. And if you think that will work, then go a bit bigger with the profits once you've made it. System, I've already talked enough about system, I think. So people, you gotta, I think the key is really just to recruit. At the beginning, just yourself is fine. But after that, when you start recruiting, depending on the business model, right? Some businesses, you never really need to recruit that many people anyway. Like, for example, property investing. You don't, like, when I invest in properties, even today, I work with other business partners, yes, but you don't really need to recruit anybody as staff, because it's just not needed because of the tax involved. You don't need to. But some businesses, let's say you want to start a cafe or something, then you probably do need to recruit somebody in time. These kind of businesses, I think, just make sure you get your key person correct, like the manager, whether that's the manager or the chef or whatever it is, but that one or two key people, if you get that person right, then he takes care of the rest anyway. The rest of the staff, he can decide who to recruit. So that key staff is the one that you need to make sure to keep happy, motivated. And sometimes I think paying a little bit more is not a bad thing, because then you can keep that key person. If you pay just a little bit more, 10% more or something than most of your competitors, that person's going to stay with you, especially if you respect them and give them good remunerations, then they will stick with you for a long time. I mean, the manager at the restaurant, I've had him for more than 5 years and he's still staying, and is because he's happy. So next is finance and accounting. Yeah, so that you obviously got to do that, but finance is important. Calculating your overheads and your income and outgoings. You got to keep that right. You don't want to run short of money, so that's quite important too. And accounting, of course, in any business, you got to submit accounts, yearly accounts, annual accounts. You can either get a accountant to do that for you, recruit somebody, or you can do it yourself. I think when you're small, you can just do it yourself, because accountants, for even just annual accounts, usually you will not be able to find somebody who charges less than £500 for it, probably closer to the £1,000 mark or more, even for a small business. Whereas, if you're small and you haven't had much transactions, it's not that difficult at the beginning. But as you grow, then obviously get an accountant. Unless if you are an accountant yourself, then that's a different story. Property investing. So that is my favorite business at the moment. It is the best business in terms of leverage, because you can leverage other people's money, and that's the lender mortgages. You can lend, you can borrow up to 75% of other people's money in order to buy it. You cannot do that with gold. Even though gold and properties over the long term arguably has gone up similar levels, but I think property is better because you get monthly rental income, you get capital appreciation, you get the initial value added remortgage side as well. There's just so much you can do with property, and you can leverage other people's time and money, because like I said at the beginning, right after you acquire a property and you start renting it out, from there it's pretty much passive, which is a lot of leverage. So my favorite strategy is something called the BRR, which is buy, refurb, refinance. And I typically only buy in Edinburgh, because you don't really need to go outside of a place you understand, especially when it's near you, which I think that's good. And I typically only buy 1 or 2 or 3 bedrooms, sometimes flats, most of the time flats, sometimes houses. And you utilize good debt effectively. So I'll just go going a little bit about this. So BR is basically buy, refurb, refinance. So basically you buy something which is distressed meaning that the property needs work. You then get a builder in to install a new kitchen, new bathroom, new floor, paint the whole place. Walls might need changing. These kind of sort of DIY work. After you've done that, you've added value to that property. You then go to another lender and borrow 75% on the new re-evaluated amount. So let's say you buy something, just for sake of math, let's say you buy something for £150,000, and then you you refurb it, add value to it. That typically costs about 15,000, between 10 to 30, depending on how bad it is, but average 15 to 20,000 to do the refurb for a small sort of 1 or 2 bedroom place. After you've added value, that property is now worth 200K, sometimes maybe even 210, 220, depending on how well you've done it, especially if you've managed to buy it for below market at the first place. You then borrow the amount, you then borrow 75% on the new amount, whether that, let's just say 210. So you originally borrow 75% on the 150,000, you then borrow 75% on the 220,000. So all that extra money is tax-free, because debt is tax-free, and that's sort of your money to keep, and then you can repeat the same process. So that's the strategy I've used in order to build a 7-figure portfolio over the last 5 to 6 years. So over £1 million worth of properties. And mostly through that. And to be honest, the first 2 or 3 years, I didn't even do it right. I only started utilizing this strategy since about 3 years ago. So the last 3 years, I've built more properties than the first 3 years, because of this knowledge. Because originally, I knew property was good, and I was just buying it and holding. That's all I did. But there's actually so much more to property than just buying and holding. So if you utilize the right strategy like BRR, you can grow it quite fast. Other people like to do other things like HMO, commercial conversions and so on, but I like my BRR, and I just stick to it. Financial assets, again, investing in the right instruments at the right time. So just a little bit, it's not really insider information, but I've been investing in cryptocurrency since 2017. So for example, during this year, which Bitcoin had the halving event back in April, every time Bitcoin does a halving, and after the US elections, which was about 10 days ago, just about 2 weeks ago, or just under 2 weeks ago, when Trump won the election, especially that Trump's won, you can anticipate the cryptocurrency to really pump, or really rise a lot, and they have. And over the last week or two, I mean, Bitcoin's now almost at 100K. I think it reached a peak of 98,000. So if you time the market correctly, which is typically during a halving year after the US elections, if you go in cryptocurrencies and you hold for about 6 months, you have a very high probability of making a profit while the risks are low, because typically when you go in, then the coins are quite low price, right? The key is to buy them low. You don't want to be buying them high. I think a lot of people lose in this game because they buy things, like whether as a stock or cryptocurrency, they chase the price, right? When it's pumped like 100, 200 percent, that's when most people come in and buy the thing, or invest in it. But no, you want to be investing in these things before everybody talks about it, while they drew after a crash. You want to be investing in these kind of things after a crash, when their prices are low, because they're assets. You want to buy assets low and just be patient and hold. And when they pump, you want to then sell for profits, protect your profits along the way up. So that's typically a good way to make money. And I think the next 3 to 6 months, and I say this with a lot of confidence, I think next year, 2025, a lot of multi-millionaires and millionaires will be made from cryptocurrencies, because I really think they're going to pump over the next 3 to 6 months, or even 12. That nobody knows for sure exactly how long, but I think next 3 to 6 months for sure, especially December, they tend to pump usually during a halving year. Yeah, but don't chase, buy them low. That's the key, really. Okay, thank you. So yeah, since 2021, so as a result of COVID, that was actually well timed. COVID, like 2019, 2020, that's when we sold most of the restaurants and got out of the restaurant business, apart from just making sort of takeaways, if you like, or food for deliveries. More like an e-commerce store, that is. So during the COVID, so we got out of that business, exited then just before it, but after the COVID, we between myself and the business partner, we then started a restaurant, a pub restaurant in Edinburgh, in Gorgie in Edinburgh, for those of you who know Edinburgh. So that's the only restaurant business I run today, and I probably, well, in fact, I likely won't grow it because, again, timing is key in life. You know, when we started the restaurant, which was back in 2006, that was a different market. Your chains haven't come yet. You're rich, really like capital rich, marketing rich chains, you know, so all these big chains now, like Wagamama, this and that. There's so many out there, you know, all around the place. Every single busy street, there's like a successful chain of some sort. And you know, it's very difficult to compete with them. Back then, when we started in Edinburgh, there weren't maybe one or two of these chains, but now there's like 20 of them. And also, we had a competitive advantage in the sense that our food is very different and unique to the usual Chinese food. So that unique selling point is quite key. But even today, even with that unique selling point, I wouldn't start a restaurant business today. It's just too much competition. Overheads are too high. Your costs are too high. Your competition is too high. Your margins are lower. All your energy costs, staff costs, everything's very high. So it's not a wise business to start today, in my opinion. So timing is key in life. Those of you who are maybe good with tech or AI or pharmaceutical, biofarm, these kind of things, I think that's where you want to focus on in terms of the future. I cannot see how AI is not going to become bigger and bigger. So these are probably the right business to focus on. And investing, I think asset investing, whether it's real estate, whether it's properties, whether it is financial assets, these are always going to be there, you know, unless if you bet against America. These are always going to be there. I mean, even if you bet against America, real estate in the UK are still going to be there. I cannot see how that can be replaced that quickly, especially when demand is double the supply. There's a shortage of real estate in the UK in comparison to the demand for it. The demand for properties in the UK is double the supply. So when something like that is the case, I think it's a good business to focus on. You know, supply and demand competition, you've got to sort of judge these things, different timings for different businesses. So yeah, and since 2019, you know, since we stopped running the restaurants, I have been helping people on an ad hoc basis in terms of investing and trading properties and business, how to run a business, you know. Even before that, I was helping friends, etc., on an ad hoc basis, just on and off anyway. But I thought, why not take this more serious and then really help people with this? And in a genuine way, not like, because there's a lot of people out there, you know, gurus so-called out there selling courses on property investing and financial trading. But in my opinion, I did pay for it myself, like several actually, but in my opinion, they charge too high of a price for perhaps not enough value. You know, for this kind of material, usually it costs thousands and not tens of thousands of pounds to learn. You know, you can Google some out there yourself. Touchstone Education, Property Investors Network, PPM. There's many out there. You know, Greg Secker, who's a trader in Forex. You know, you go for a course with him, costs you maybe 5 to 10K. At the end of it, you're not going to profit anyway because Forex is so difficult. So yeah, I thought, why not genuinely help people with this in a genuine way? So I launched some courses in Udemy since 2020, I think. And currently there's more than 6,000 enrolled students in my courses. I think there's 8 or 9 courses there on trading, investing, and business. There's not much on day trading, etc. Because if I'm being honest with you guys, day trading is a scam for most people. It's so difficult, extremely difficult. You know, there's so much emotions in play, and you're going against the banks, you're going against the most smart people out there in the world. It's very difficult to do. Whereas if you swing trade or hold for the longer term and buy the right assets at low prices and just be patient, your probability of success is much higher. Yeah, again, property business, I've mentioned this. Over the last 5 to 6 years, I've built a 7-figure portfolio, so over £1 million worth of properties, and growing on an annual basis. I don't grow that quick, but typically I buy 2 or 3 properties a year, and that's sort of the rate I've been growing at. Except for this year, I didn't buy any because of the interest rate. The interest rate was very high. It was sort of 6-7%. I just felt that was a bit high. There's not really much income to like profit left from the rent at those kind of rates. However, the interest rates have just come down. Now is between 4 to 6%. As long as the interest rate can be kept below 6%, in my opinion, from a rental perspective, is worth it. So next year I plan to buy another 2 or 3 properties, as I was doing before this year. And I can foresee the interest rate coming down a bit actually over time. I don't think it's going to come down a lot, but I think over the next year or two it should come down, but by a little bit. Okay. So yeah, and follow your passion, do what you love. So earlier I did mention I'm a magician, so I've been a magician since I was 15, 16 years old. So I've been doing magic on and off for over 20 years. Back in uni, I used to perform a lot of magic, and today I perform magic on a weekly basis. Every month, I get between 5 to 10 shows locally, well, throughout Scotland. And I love doing magic, and I think it's not just. I think life isn't just about money. I think it's important, but I think it's about doing something you love. And if you can do something you love, follow your passion, I think is a really good life. And you can really only do that if you can leverage a business or I think, in my opinion, you can probably achieve it through maybe top 2% of jobs. But even so, you need to know how money works and you need to invest in and grow it. Otherwise, I think the best way to achieve some sort of freedom or doing what you love is to be your own boss and do your own business. And because of the real estate business, etc., and by being in business, that enables me to do magic, which is what I love, and also spend time with my family. So I have 3 daughters and I have a wife. I have 3 daughters, and I can spend a lot of time with them and go on holidays a few times every year, and just be there for them, and which is important, I think, in life. Um, yeah. So yeah, and choose a profession, like I said there on the bottom, choose a profession, not just for the money, but rather for the passion and love. And as long as there's demand for it and you build a business around it, I think it's just a matter of time before you become successful. You got to be consistent, you got to be patient, and you got to work smart. And over time, I do think you achieve results. I think it's impossible not to achieve results if you do things over a consistent period of time, do something you love, and when there's demand and you build a business around it. It's impossible not to achieve results, in my opinion, as long as you do it for long enough. And yeah, most of us have passions and talents. Yours will be different to mine, and learn to utilize this, monetize it, turn it into a business, and ultimate becoming free and live a life. Well, just live a life doing what you love, really. And so there's a big difference in making a living doing what you love than making a living doing what you hate. Personally, I would rather make 50K a year doing what I love than making 100K a year doing what I hate, and that's just me. And and I think it's good. Life is too short to do things you hate. Yeah, that's that. And yeah, I think this QR code should work. I think that's the end of that presentation. And any of you that wishes to follow me or link with me, that Linktree link's got all my links. It's got my LinkedIn link, TikTok, YouTube, and so on. And that's the website. You can email me or do whatever. There's also I also offer discovery calls, which are free, to discuss to help you discover where your passions are and help you build a business or investing or trading, whatever it is that you want, all these arenas that you want to get into. I'd be more than happy to help. Okay, so
Thank you so
welcome any
much.
questions or anything. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Yin, for that interesting and very insightful presentation.
Pleasure.
Now we want to open the floor for a Q&A. If there's anybody that wants to share some insights or questions for Yin Fei, now is your time to ask your questions. So we have some questions on the chat. I'll just read them out to you.
Right.
How do you stay informed about best investment opportunities?
Ooh. So, like, I think a lot of it is networking with the right people and experience. So by going to the right networking events, by making friends with the right people, and through experience by doing, you then realize what investments are good, what's perhaps not good in terms of timing. And I think over time with experience, you get a feel for it. So in terms of network, for example, let's say you hear from people like right now, you hear from me that property is a good investment. You hear that crypto may be a good investment for the next 6 months. I would probably go on to something like Eventbrite if you're in the UK or something like that, and Google and just search for events or networking events in terms of investment. And then you go to that event and you talk with people there and make sure you talk to the right people. Ideally, you want to talk to people that have a lot of experience in that particular field and that's achieved certain results in that particular field. And by talking with them, you learn a lot. And then you do your own research and you double check the facts. And throughout experience, through doing, you're going to become better at it as well.
Awesome for
Yeah.
that. So we have another question. What do you think? Oh, no, sorry. What do you think how much Bitcoin will peak at? Until when does it come down?
Oh, wow. See, that's an interesting question. I think I cannot see how Bitcoin does not breach 150K this round, this bull market. And I think that'll happen within the next 12 months for sure, but maybe even 3 to 6 months. So I cannot see it being below 150, but beyond that, nobody really knows apart from the sort of what do you call the elephants, if you like, out there. Apart from the really big rich people out there, they probably know where the bottom, near where the bottom is, where the top is. Us retail people cannot have that information, but we can anticipate things. But the key is really just to get in them low. So any of you who are interested in trading and things, I have a Discord group which is completely free, Magic and Wealth Discord. So we got into Bitcoin when I was 40K. So that was the alert given. So we're up about 150% on Bitcoin, and there's a few altcoins out there that we're up. But I think our biggest profit was 1,200% so far on Ponk, Ponk, which is an altcoin. So that's a free group. You can just come and join. But I think this market is something that you don't want to risk all your life saving saving into it. It can be risky, and potentially some of the coins can go to zero. So it is a market that I think you should only risk what you can afford to lose. But the key is to buy them low and sell them as it pumps rather than buy them high, which is what most people do. But yeah, so Bitcoin 150K, I cannot see it below that this sometime in 2025. How much further than that in 2025, I'm not sure. But one thing I can say is 2026, 2027 should be bear market or consolidation, because it's always the case. Bitcoin always pumps during the halving year and the year after. So that's this year and next year. After that, it goes into sort of, it dumps. But I don't think you can ever get Bitcoin for less than 60K ever again. It might not be true, but if it's based on history, it will be true, because if you look at the previous patterns, Bitcoin never trades below its previous all-time high before during the previous halving. So, even when the Bitcoin tanked this time, there was tanking. I think you could have got it for 30Ks or 40K, but you couldn't get it below 20K, which was about sort of the previous all-time high. So Bitcoin tends to do that, and it never really goes below it. Nothing's guaranteed, but I think if Bitcoin goes back to 60K again, I'll definitely buy, because Michael Saylor, who's one of the top investors in Bitcoin, he predicts that Bitcoin will be worth at least $10 million per Bitcoin by 2050, I think he said, or 2040, I can't remember. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. I think it's a long-term game. But this round, 150K minimum, in my honest opinion, but which isn't that much to make. It's only about 50%, but a lot of the altcoins, like your Ponk, ADA, Cardano, XRP, Doge, Shiba Inu, there's so many out there, hundreds. I think a lot of them, they're still very low priced at the moment, and that's when you want to buy them.
Do you invest properties outside of Scotland, example, Dubai or other countries?
I actually don't know. I only invest in Edinburgh. I mean, I've got a few in China, but that doesn't really apply. It's really just Edinburgh. Within 2 miles of Edinburgh city centre, that's all I do. Yes, it's just easier to manage, easier to do the refurb work, easy for traveling around. And the capital gains in Edinburgh is very, very good because that matters to me actually. I like my capital gains. I don't want to invest somewhere like Scottish Borders or something where the capital gains like 2% a year. Edinburgh's more like 8 or 10% a year over the long term. So that's quite attractive to me. So no, unfortunately, no, nowhere, only in Scotland.
We have another question. How about ETF or unit trusts?
Yes, exchange traded funds. So what was the question about the ETF? Sorry.
AI Chan, can you elaborate on your question?
Oh, how about ETFs and unit
Yeah.
trust? Yeah, yes. So, um, I do. I think I have. What's the name of the company? What are they called? What's the girl's name? The woman with the glasses. One of the top traders, investors out there. Uh, I have to double check. It just escaped my mind. But as a woman, Kathy Woods, yes, I invest in her trust. Yes, her sort of company of investments. Yes, and she's quite into cryptos as well, and I think she's really good, Kathy Woods. So I have her one. Although at this moment in time, apart from properties, my second biggest investment's in cryptos, and I think at this moment in time it makes sense. It's worth the risk because of the halving, because of the elections now out of the way. For the next 3 to 6 months, I can see cryptos pumping a lot more than where they have pumped so far.
Mm,
Yes.
We have another question here
ARK
from.
Invest. Sorry, I just remembered. ARK
Oh,
Invest. That's it. Sorry. ARK Invest. Yes, I invest in ARK Invest. Yes.
all right.
Yes.
I hope that answered your question, AI Chan. So another question from Wasit. From your experience, what should be a strategy for investing and building a mentoring business that is suitable for the AI era?
Ooh. So I think AI is actually a great profession to get into. And I'm just being honest. I understand the basic. I just know like ChatGPT and stuff. I'm not that much into it. Um, but you should be. It's a great, huge opportunity. And I think if you're in tech and that's your arena, it's definitely a good thing. So in terms of a mentoring business, probably by being part of groups like this, by joining communities, such as mentoring.org or these kind of mentoring platforms, by joining these arenas and I think it exposes you to more potential mentees and reaching out to the right people on LinkedIn and yeah, and doing some marketing probably, hey, I'm a mentor in AI and targeting the right people who may be interested in that, mentees who are new in that business, in that arena. And you can, when you do a Facebook or social media marketing, you can target these niches as well. Yeah, these kind of things. But by being a part of these communities helps as well. But
Yeah.
but AI isn't my specialty, I'm just being honest. Yeah,
Definitely. Thank you for that. We have another question here.
no problem.
How do you bounce back from a bad investment?
Ooh, yeah. Try not to make them at the first place. But yeah, so I guess so here's the thing. I think if you invest in properties, for example, in the UK, like I said earlier, your risk is almost zero if you know what you're doing. It is so difficult to go wrong. Um, because sure, sometimes the price might come down a bit, but you're not going to sell during the downtime anyway. You're collecting rent anyway. So something like real estate, if you know what you're doing, if you buy in the right location, buying the right kind of property, it it's so difficult to go wrong, which is why I invest like 95% of my overall capital or net worth into it because it's just so safe. But then the smaller amount, like 4 or 5% of it, you can take a risk on something that may bring you bigger returns, such as a business or such as a cryptocurrencies, etc. But I would say that's a smaller capital because they can be risky and you can potentially lose it all. I mean, my worst example is Forex. I've lost a reasonable amount in Forex trading. Um, and I just think is the most difficult out there. The banks are always there to wipe you out. There's so many difficult, challenging moves, and it's so emotional. I don't touch Forex these days because I think it's a scam almost. Um, so how do you sort of feel better about it? I guess whatever you invest in, first of all, study it and really understand it. And even after you've studied it and understood it, still experience it, go through the markets. And you initially start using a demo account, I would recommend. Or if it's real estate or something, there's no demo out there, you then, well, with real estate, like I said, it's hard, you can hardly go wrong anyway. But with financial markets, with something more risky, start with a demo account, practice it first. Don't chase that get rich quick because there's no such thing. And 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 go in small. Otherwise, go in small to begin with, because these markets, don't forget, like the stock market as well as cryptos, they've all been like Bitcoin's been around for more than 10 years. So it's there to last some time. The opportunity is always there. You don't need to try and get rich quick now. And if you're not ready, you are going to get burned, which is what happened with me with Forex. So I think thinking back in hindsight, demo account, practice, and go in small to begin with and get a feel for it. And then because Bitcoin and cryptos go through different cycles. Right now we're in a bull market, and then it's going to go to a bear market and consolidation until 2028, which will be the next round of bull market, 2028, 2029. So then you can go in a bit bigger, then you'll be ready then because you've had enough practice. That's what I would say, because I know a lot of people get burned in financial market investing. I have friends who lose $500,000. I have a mentee who I taught how to trade and invest. He put over $1 million into the market back in 2021, but that was after the boom already happened. That's where you don't want to be investing. You don't want to be investing when they're pumped. That's how you lose, because it's so high, your risk is so low, because every market corrects. Nothing goes up in a straight like in that sort of style. It's always up, down, no matter what. Except with cryptos, is much more of a pump. So yeah, go in small and just practice until you're ready. Then go in bigger when you're really ready. But even so, the financial markets can be a risky play game, which is why I keep the rule: only invest what you can afford to lose. Whereas properties is so safe. Your chance of failing is like almost zero if you know what you're doing. But yeah, that's what I would say. Try to avoid it in the first place. But if it does happen, learn from your mistakes. Yeah, just learn from it. I mean, I learned from my Forex mistake, and my learning is that I just don't touch it anymore. I stick with what I know. I stick with what I'm good at.
Thanks for that, Yin. We have another question. I think one of our participants is interested to follow your path being a magician. He's asking, how much does a magician make in Scotland per gig?
Oh, wow. Okay, that's a different one. I wasn't expecting that one, but yeah. Sorry. Water. I was taking a sip of drink there and I choked. So yeah, magician. Depending on where you're based, it's good, or it might not be good. Like if I was in China, I probably wouldn't do this because you make too little. But I mean, but if you love what you do and you make enough from other things, that's fine. But if you're going to do this as a profession and you need to make a living out of it, you want to be in a place where there's demand. And in a place like the UK, there's a lot of demand for magicians and entertainers, DJs and singers and musicians, because the British, they like to have fun. They have a lot of parties, they have a lot of birthdays and all this, and they like this stuff. So if you're in a place like that in Scotland as a magician, if you're quite good, you can make on average between 100 and 200 pounds an hour. And that's the average that you can make as a magician, which is still very good in my opinion, especially if you're doing something you love and it's something you love. For that pay is brilliant. And often you get free food and free drinks and everybody loves you. What's not to like? So yeah, if you want to become a magician, I would recommend you, first of all, you might be already very good. I don't know that yet, but just make sure you're very good at it, and you're good with people, and you can go on platforms such as Event or Bark, these kind of, or LinkedIn, these kind of, or Facebook marketing. You go to these platforms and really market yourself, put yourself out there. You can build a magic business fairly quickly, actually. It's probably one of the quickest out there. If you have a hobby that you're really good at and you're based in the UK, you go on a platform like Bark, you can build that business fairly quick. Within 6 months, you can get quite decent at it, I would say. It's one of the quick ones. Yes.
All right, another question here. We have a few minutes before we end, so I hope you hang in there with these
No
questions.
problem. That's fine.
So we
Yes.
have another question: how to identify real estate properties or localities that will experience significant price appreciation in the coming years compared to more established areas?
Yeah, so you can utilize different platforms, such as Rightmove. So where I'm based, I use ESPC, I use Gumtree, I use Facebook Marketplace, and I use Open Rent. So there's several platforms that I use, and I then go onto them, and let's say there's a property that I like, I go and look at what they were sold at previously and recently, and then you can calculate how much the percentage increases, capital gains over that period is. On average, you can work it out. I mean, don't just do it with one property. Maybe check 10 different properties, 5 or 10 different properties, and then you can work out roughly what the capital appreciation is in that particular area. So wherever you are trying to invest, I would just recommend the same. Do the same in your particular area, and you'll be able to work out what the average capital appreciation is during a certain period of time in that area. And from there, what you want to do is you don't want to buy the best property on that street. And let's say you've done all your vetting, you've done all your DD due diligence, you want and you think this place is good, you've worked out the average capital gain appreciation is, I would say keep it at least 5% a year, ideally more, because that's what I like. I don't do it if it's less than 5% a year. It's just, because capital appreciation is very attractive, and I can explain that in a sec. But but let's say you've vetted all that and you think that area is good, I like it, it's like 8% a year, then you want to buy a crap one, right? A bad place on that street, right? Because that's where money's made. If you buy a good place that's like all looking brand new, sparkling new, you cannot make money until, well, you can make rental money, yes, but you cannot recycle money out quickly enough, right? In order to recycle money quickly enough, you want to buy bad properties, revamp it, refurb it, and then borrow from a new lender to recycle that money out, which is tax-free. And that's how you grow a property portfolio quicker. And it's known as the BRR model, which I shared, the buy, refurb, refinance model, which is the only model that I use nowadays. Yeah, so that's what I'll do. Track these resources, Rightmove, ESPC in my case, but in your local case, it'll be something else. Gumtree, yes, Gumtree, Facebook, all these places, they have properties there. People list them there, and you work out what the average. You work out since 10 years ago what something sold at and what something sold at now. You do that for 5 to 10 properties, and you'll be able to work out what your average gain is, and try to keep it above 5% a year if you can. Well, at least that's what I do. Capital gain side anyway. And make sure, another thing you want to make sure is buy properties that make sense. You have to go and view it. You must go and view it. It doesn't make sense not to go and see a property that you're about to purchase. And when you view it, have a walk around it, have a feel for the place. What you don't want to buy are properties that are maybe, I mean, a lot of people actually buy them, they like it because there's more value to be added in those areas, right? But personally, I like to buy properties that's sort of made for ideal for working, ideal for sort of middle class, because what happens is that you might experience more damages, and the capital appreciation will be lower and your rental income will be lower. Whereas if you buy sort of middle classes or sort of in a decent area, you have a much more bigger market to rent out to. So you can rent it out faster, and your rental income is better, and the capital appreciation is a little bit better. Although if all you're doing is flipping the property, sometimes buying in a sort of a working class area, it's good too, because you find a lot of distressed properties in those areas. But my focus is sort of middle class kind of areas, because I don't flip them. I don't flip properties. I always buy them, add value, and rent it out. Because I think long term you can make a lot of money in properties. If you hold properties when you're young over a long period of time, you will become wealthy. It's just how properties work. So I typically hold them.
Thank you so much, Yin Fei. And that
Okay.
wraps up our session for today. I appreciate everyone's participation and thoughtful insights. Special thanks to you, Yin Fei, for your patience, your effort, and your
Pleasure.
knowledge about asset investment and building a business, which truly resonated with our audience.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad. It's a pleasure. And yeah, I'm glad if you guys found value. If any of you have more questions, just get in touch with me, LinkedIn message me, or through the link, through my Linktree link, any of these platforms, just message me. More than happy to answer. any more questions after this.
Some of our
Pleasure.
participants already sent you a LinkedIn invite. So there's one from Wasi. He said, thank you very much for the session. It opened his mind a lot.
Oh,
And
thank you.
he
It's a
sent you a
pleasure.
connection. Yeah.
You're welcome.
All right. So if
Okay.
you are an individual seeking mentoring credentials, or if you are a training provider seeking accreditations, feel free to visit our website to know more. And Yin Fei's links are shared on the chat below. Please feel free to reach out to him if you're looking for a mentor. Like he said earlier, he has a free discovery call. Feel free to reach out to him for anything related to the topic today. And yeah, I hope this webinar helped you. And if you are looking for a mentor, Yin Fei is here to help you guys grow your business and become successful in your chosen careers. And I hope this webinar has fueled your commitment to fostering mentoring relationships. And join us again next week as we continue our webinars to explore, connect, and empower each other. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you, Ira, for hosting it, and thank everyone.
You so much, Yin.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Catch up soon. No problem. Thank you. All the best.